Monday again. Hello, and welcome to another episode of your favorite Musso podcast. We're your hosts, Jama, Hadi, and Dengone. And on this podcast, as you know, we share a microphone for fresh conversations on current affairs and women's realities beyond a single story. It's absolutely great to be back here again. We just wanted to say thank you for all the feedback that we've been receiving so far, for all of the episodes that we've put out. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for taking this journey with us. And as you listen to this episode, if you have any thoughts whatsoever, feel free to share them with us on social media with our hashtag MussoPod. That's hashtag MUSSOPOD. So let's get into today's episode. This is what, episode 9? Wow. Can you believe it? Can you believe it? How are you guys doing?
Cannot believe it. I was telling Jama earlier, I was in the middle of my nap today, and then I woke up and I was like, I really love this podcast because there's nothing else I would wake up for.
On a Friday afternoon. Hot Friday afternoon.
To come and record.
Yeah.
But
that's the thing. He threatened us right from the start. When we put out our promo, he was like, just be consistent. I hope you guys will be consistent.
Yeah, Habib. So...
Yeah, but it's a good feeling. How are you doing? How's your week?
It's been good. It's been quite hectic, but as expected. So I was really I'm glad that I had earlier in the day to just decompress and watch my very typical horror shows on Netflix, and so I think I would call it a good day.
Did you put any candy in any ice cream this time around?
No, but I do have a story.
We'll hear it.
Yesterday, I was really tired yesterday. Anyway, I was in the middle of praying. I forgot I had on contacts. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, why am I seeing so clearly? I swear. And I started touching my face. I said, there's no glasses on my face. So what's going on that I can see?
So you forgot now you had contacts.
I had contact.
Wow.
And then right after that, I was just like, you know what? I should just go back to bed.
I think we should create a permanent segment for your stories on every episode because...
What did Hadi do today?
Yeah, exactly. You know how they have this, what would Jesus do? That whole learning thing. So what did Hadi do this week?
Yeah, that was something I...
Gambia's really doing you.
No, I'm
sorry.
I'm done for... Oh, yes. And today I locked myself out the house.
Yeah,
I forgot about that.
That's story
one
number
too.
2.
But yeah.
We'll keep that one for the next episode.
How do you survive on a daily basis?
Have you found your life mentor, like the one that's separate from everyone else?
I'm just gonna put this out there for anyone listening. If you are a life mentor or know someone who is, I'm looking for one. So please, I need your help.
Is it paid?
For me.
Is it paid work?
It will definitely be paid work, because if there's one thing that we believe in at Musso is that everyone, especially women, need to be paid for the work that they're doing, and they need to be compensated fairly.
Giving the snaps.
Yep. And given that my life is a mess, you'll be compensated very fairly. You probably make more than I do.
And meanwhile, people are doing this work for free. The irony.
Which work? It's not for free.
Someone block Ngone, please.
The money will come. So tell us, Ngo, how have you been?
I'm already exhausted for the week.
Yeah.
That's how I am. I'm already exhausted for the week. At this point, I just want to go to bed, stay there for the rest of the year, and just... I'm a sauna. Yeah, honestly. I'm over it. I'm a sauna. That's how I'm doing. I need a paid vacation, people. If there's any sponsors, any glucose papa that's listening, I need a paid vacation.
Oh, hold on, mama. Whatever.
Yeah,
Whichever
yes,
one brings the money. Whichever brings the money.
We swing all the way.
We're flexible. We're flexible with it.
I can keep you company. So,
Yeah. I think I feel the same way. I feel the same way. Work has been kicking my butt. Hard. And last night I crashed. I slept for 11 hours.
Yeah.
And missed our production meeting.
We had a meeting scheduled for 8:30. 8:30 rolled around. Where's Jama?
And I set an alarm for it, but I didn't even hear the alarm. No. I set an alarm for 8:30 and I slept for 11 hours. I woke up in the morning in my work clothes from the day before, and I was like, girl, you need a break. So I'm hoping to take a break very soon, and run me the money. That's the thing, my body took what it needed, and it's been good, even though I have a whole marathon waiting for me over the next few weeks. But bahna. Run me the money. And speaking of money, that's what we're talking about today. Aisha Mahmood has this thing, ching ching, with is the money calling or whatever. There's this song.
Oh, where the money resides. Going where the money resides.
Ching ching, that's the money calling. That's the call I want to receive from Negani.
Amen.
And on today's episode, that's what we're talking about. It's money matters. We're talking about the kodo. We're talking about l'argent,
Dinero.
which we need a lot of. But we're looking at this obviously.
Dinero, por favor.
Looking at this obviously from the perspective of just women, our relationship with money, but specifically around work. So our labor, is it paid? Is it unpaid? What do we do to ensure that we're being paid our work's worth?
Perfect.
So basically that's what we want to discuss. And disclaimer, and I think I do this disclaimer for all three of us, we don't have that in check yet in our lives.
Yes.
Yeah. So everything we'll be saying here should be taken with a pinch of salt.
I need a life coach, but we also all need money.
We need a money coach. We need money coaches that help us to, to get that part of our lives right. And we're hoping with this episode, we will be digging into what our challenges have been, looking at what our transitions have been as well, how we're dealing with that. But before we get into the conversation, before you all hear about our struggles, we found a very, very amazing quote which fits the very discussion that we're going to be having today. And it's a quote from Memory Kachambwa. Memory is the director at Femnet. If you know Femnet, if you're an African feminist, you know Femnet is one of the African feminist organizations. And Memory is telling us, and I quote, "We are not asking for equal pay as a benevolence gesture. No. We demand equal pay for equal work as a fundamental right. In fact, women deserve double pay, reward for productive and reproductive work. It is time to recognize, reduce, redistribute, and pay for unpaid labor. Period."
Period.
And that's on what? Mary had a little lamb.
Yeah. Memory had a little lamb. But I think this is a very apt quote for the episode we're discussing today. I know we've been having this conversation for a long time, especially when people knock on our doors for services that we offer. We've had I think as recent as last week or so, or even this week we were talking about this. And so it's important that we talk about it on Musso, because this is where we bring all of our thoughts, right? And so, what does money mean to you?
You answer it, Jama.
You go first.
You go first, Jama.
What does money and making money mean for you? But also looking at it from the perspective of being women.
You
Hadi,
answer that, Jama.
go ahead.
Why are you making me do it?
I am the moderator for this discussion, for this panel discussion.
Because it's to a point where, like, how come if someone has reached out to me for an opportunity and I get so excited, and the first thing Jama and Gone will ask me is it paid? Or even like Ramatola will ask me, is it paid? And then I realize, oh crap, I'm at a point where I can charge for services. But I am really, 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 really bad when it comes to like asking to get paid for my work, or even asking for something that's enough. And I know that's something I need to work on. I know that I'm not going to school and collecting all this like information and
And the chona and everything.
just to get paid butoots. But I know that it's a big struggle I have. And I think as women in general, we're raised to try and be people that do not attach too much value to currency. Because it's like, as a woman, you're supposed to be giving, you're supposed to just endure and give for the sake of it. But if you have expertise, and if you know what you're doing, and you know what you should be compensated for, you need to ask for it. Because you'll be in a space where you and a guy, you probably have more experience than them or whatnot, and then they're paying them double what they're paying you, and it's on the basis of biology. And for me, I know I'm trying very, very hard to get to a point where I can be comfortable with asking for a certain amount for the work that I'm doing and not back down from it. Yep. I think honestly it's only recently, like towards the end of last year, that I asked for a certain amount and I stuck to my guns, and I was like, if I'm not going to get paid, then I'm not doing the work. Yeah.
And I think it's interesting you mention what it looks like for men, and the gender pay gap is real. We hear this in feminist spaces. We hear it with all of the movements that are looking at economic empowerment for women, and in how it ties to the gender pay gap, even when the work is equal. But in most cases, if we're being honest, it's women doing most of the work as
It's
well,
never
but
equal.
being paid so much less. So Ngo, what does Halis mean to you? What does making Halis mean to you?
I think at this point in my life, making money or having money is a means of survival. Right? That's where I'm at. I pray to get to a point where making money is a hobby, right? You know, I'm just making money. Blah, blah, blah.
Does that exist? Is that a thing?
I mean, if you're a billionaire or multi-millionaire, at some point, what do you need money for? You're just making it because you're making it. But at this point, I think making money for me is a means of survival, of taking care of myself and taking care of my family and my needs and stuff. And, you know, like Hadi said, it's for a lot of Gambian women or girls, you're not raised to desire or to want money, right? It's the men. Yeah, it's boys or men who are raised with the notion that danga wara am halis, danga wara ligay, danga wara am halis, danga muna def ni. But for us women, for a lot of women, it's not like, that's not the same thing that you have. For me, maybe I come from a different background where my dad always insisted on independence, and by independence he meant financial independence, in a way that you're not even supposed to depend on your sibling, your brother or your sister. You're supposed to have something for yourself. And I remember him saying one time that, you know, you should have your independence, because, for example, if you're married and you have no financial independence, and then the marriage blows up or whatever, what are you going to do? How are you going to support yourself? So because of that, for me, financial independence has always been emphasized at home. But at this point, I'm making it to survive. And, you know, say you need to make money to, you need to have money to make money, right? That's the thing. You need to have money to make money. And as young women, we're trying to get money, but we don't even have money to make the money that we need. Yeah. So, yeah, I guess.
Go. I'm so glad you brought up the part about marriage, because we were just talking about it right before coming in, about how when women enter even if you're working and you enter a marriage, if God forbid you have to get a divorce, and honestly, divorce, I shouldn't say God forbid when it comes to divorce, because sometimes you have to leave these men.
Yep.
But women end up having to go down a tax bracket. So imagine if you're depending on just one person for finances, if you're not doing anything, be it working outside of the home, being business, or being even that your husband was paying you to stay at home, then that takes away your ability to take care of yourself if you have to leave a marriage. So it's so important to consistently to demand more, even if you're not needing it now, but for a certain rainy day, or for when it comes to a point where you have to take care of yourself.
So it's a survival. It's a pathway to survival. I think for a lot of people, especially in a capitalist world, it's a pathway to survival. And when you come to women and just the disparities that we've been seeing forever, it takes a whole other dimension. So in the world of formal work, in the world of informal work, this is all we are seeing. And I know we've been talking about, you know, it's difficult for me to ask people to pay me for my work, or to pay what my work is worth, because sometimes they do offer pay, but some of that pay is an insult. You know. And I'm just trying to understand, because all of these things have a root, right? So you've mentioned, for example, the issue of jigen waruta am halis, to the extent where so ñaanal sa yanga am jëkkër bu am halis lañ la dee ñaanal, not yow yanga am halis, you know. And I'm just wondering, where is it coming from, you know, and what are the things that may have influenced it? And I know for all three of us, we're literally professional volunteers. We've been volunteering all of our lives, our services, our expertise, our time, in so many different forms, on so many different platforms. And I'm just wondering if that has a link to where we are now and the discomfort we feel when it comes to demanding rightful pay for the work that we do.
Oh, absolutely. And especially, I think all of us come from non-profit backgrounds. So I think you get so used to being paid measles, because I know for a fact that I have that issue where if I'm doing a consultancy and a non-profit comes to me, I'm uncomfortable charging what I would even normally charge for anything. It's like I ask for I ask for peanuts compared to knowing what the work I'm about to do versus like, you know, what I should be paid for it. I charge peanuts because I'm just so uncomfortable with asking for money. But even then, like you said, like, just we're professional volunteers. That's the only way to put it. We're absolutely professional volunteers.
I think if you're looking at it first for the society, where the whole idea of women not having money, where it comes from, and this is my opinion, don't go and quote me and say Ustaz disclaimer. But okay, I think was it last week or so, we had this conversation where we were talking about, I think it was on Clubhouse, and someone mentioned, you know, gender roles and women earning a living, and how you're supposed to have your husband's permission to earn a living, you're supposed to stay home. And, you know, that person cited the story of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and Khadija, right? And how she was at home and he was working. And, you know, held up them. And I thought, listen, this woman had her own business. She was running a huge business. But because she got married to him and she trusted him so much, she handed over her business to him. It wasn't like he asked her to hand over the business to him. She voluntarily did that. And I believe that was then interpreted to mean that a woman is supposed to stay home because Khadija radiallahu anha was at home and the Prophet was the one who was out working and earning a living. And our culture is so mixed with religion to a point where we're unable to differentiate what's culture and what's religion, right? Because if you're a Muslim, for example, Islam tells you you're a woman, you have a right to earn your living because you're human. Every human being has a right to earn their sustenance.
And it belongs to you.
And it belongs to you, exactly. And
my
whatever,
money is my money.
yeah. Listen, women, in Islam, your money is your money. Your husband's money is the entire family's money.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's our
But
money.
yeah, whatever you earn belongs to you and nobody has a right to take that from you. But somehow women are not taught that in our society. So from young, like you said, ñu la ñaanal yal nga am jëkkër bu am xaalis, not yow yal na nga am xaalis. So from that, you don't grow up desiring money or feeling like whatever you're able to offer, service or work, has no value, has no intrinsic value, right? So you don't charge. And us being from non-profit backgrounds, like Hadi said, I have the same problem too. If I'm approached by a non-profit for work, I feel very bad asking for what I feel I should be paid, right? And this is an ongoing struggle that I have. And a few weeks ago, I had an encounter with a non-profit that approached me for work. And I said, listen, this is how much you're offering, but this is how much I feel I should be paid for this work, because I have looked at what you're asking for and I know it would require a lot from me and this is what I want to get paid. And they said, no, we don't have enough funds for that, blah, blah, blah. And normal me would have said, okay, it's fine, I'll take whatever. But at that point, I was like, you know what, I have to stand my ground and I'm not taking the job because I know the value of work that I would produce. And that whatever they're offering does not commensurate with the value of work that I'll be putting out, so I'm not going to take it. And that's a hard thing to do. It's a hard point to get, but you know, I wish a lot of young women would get to that point.
You know what what the thought just crossed my mind is the fact that, like, because we do work around gender, around violence, there's an assumption that if you're passionate about it, you should be able to do it for free.
Yes.
Because I know that's what, with the first, like, big girl job I had, that was one thing that was kind of drilled into my head, and I realize now that it was a very manipulative tactic, where it's like she loves her job so much that she would do it for free. So I thought that was a good thing, where I'm like, oh, I don't care, because just because I'm making a change in the world, then I should be able to, that should be enough to put me to sleep. But it's like, bro, bills don't get paid.
Bills don't get paid.
And I wanted to come into that because we keep talking about the value of our work. And I know we've talked about money as a pathway to survival, or just having your finances, good finances as a pathway to your survival. And the point you raised is really interesting, because I'm also thinking of it from the point of, you know, how they always say you're paid to do this work. You know, so there's that again. It's the sword we have in this room, and the double edges. You know, and you begin to ask for pay, and people feel it's a justification for the things they say. You're paid to go against our culture. You're paid to do this. You feminists are being paid by the West and stuff. And then on the other hand, there's the problem that you mentioned. Your passion is enough for you. You know, the results that you're getting. And I know it's been a big problem for me as well. I've struggled with it for so many years, and it's coming from the point where you're always told you're doing this to serve your community. You understand? But for me, the question is also, how is it serving me in a way that is not detrimental to who I am? You understand? So how do I ensure I place myself in a position where I am serving community, I am following my passion, but I am also not, I guess, ruining myself or self-sabotaging in a way. And I think it's a really hard space to navigate, especially if you no, I mean, it's been really, really hard. I'm moving away from that and understanding that. And it goes to the other point that I wanted to bring up around, maybe you're young and people feel like you don't have a lot of experiences, you don't have a lot of skills, or you don't have the education per se, you don't have the papers. And so they feel like whatever you're doing should be pro bono, whatever you're doing should be free, it's going to count as volunteer experience on your CV. But we need to go beyond that and interrogate that as work, because it is work. Yes, you are learning, yes, you are young, yes, you may not have 50 years experience, but you're doing work, and in normal circumstances work is paid. So why are you not getting paid? And I think it can be a really, really messy situation to sometimes be in, and probably contributes to why sometimes we are very uncomfortable with demanding pay for our work.
So I just want to clarify what I meant by it's not hard for me, because you sit down and then the people that you're working for are driving and multi-million dollar cars, and they're building homes that are basically mansions, and you're getting taxi $8. After a while, you have to think: are they doing it for the passion, or are they also doing it for the money?
And I like the comment about activists being not being able to charge for work that you're passionate about, because this is the hill that people stand on to drag activists, right? You're only doing this job to get money from it. Yes, I love this. I love advocating for women. I love fighting for women, but should I not get paid for that? Like, should I not have a means of sustenance? But you hear that a lot lately. They say, well, everyone wants to be an activist because there's a lot of money in activism. If there was money in activism, I'd be driving a Range Rover right now. Honestly. But yeah, people believe that if you love something, you shouldn't get paid for it. And I think that's the complete opposite. Your job is a job. Activism is your job, but it's also your passion. So it being your passion means you're able to give it 110% because you love what you're doing, but it doesn't mean you don't deserve to get paid for the time and energy that you're using in doing that job.
I think for me, the way I look at it as well, and I know we'll go deeper into this part of the conversation, but the way I look at it as well is I am in this space. Yes, my passion is what has brought me here. What I really want is better. What I really want is change. What I want is progress. In times where I know there's no money, that's okay. I will be there and give it my all.
Absolutely.
But when funds are available to pay me for the work that I do.
Yeah.
So I think those situations are sometimes what we need to navigate, because then we go on with this culture of, they've got it for free, feminist law or activist law, lilampuga. And it gets to a point where you don't even feel like that person deserves to be paid for the work that they are doing, for the time that they're putting in, for the effort, but also as they grow, their expertise and their experiences.
So I want to go back to the whole idea of internships and expecting young people to do work for free. And I think it's such a gatekeeping tool, if I can use that word, because only people that are financially well enough to work for free are able to do the job.
Yep.
So you end up losing so much talent and so much, so many people in the community that know the work they're doing, but they can't afford to dedicate 40, 80 hours every week to unpaid roles.
Yeah.
And then all you can give them is, one day it'll benefit you.
I'll do your recommendation.
Yeah, I'll do your recommendation letter. But how am I supposed to survive, and how am I supposed to sustain myself when I'm pretty sure there's enough there's some kind of funding available that you can put towards me towards me ensuring that I'm doing a good job.
It's a sticky situation, and I think everyone comes out of that with that sort of trauma. It's like,
it's true,
because then this is what you're taught as well. It's not just a matter of the person seeing it, but it happening to you also teaches you to sometimes internalize, the idea that you don't deserve to ask to be paid.
Yeah.
And even when you're being paid, you get to certain situations where you deserve more, but you don't even have the courage because you don't feel like it's right. You're not supposed to do it because, this is this. And it's not just in the nonprofit. Well, I know we're focused on that because that's what our experience is. But even in businesses, businesses that are for profit, and that's even what's worse for me. Because with the nonprofit situation, for example, pay might depend on what funds are available, right? But then in a business where yo, you're a business. This is for profit. It's money making. That's your purpose. You're there to make money. So you can't even begin to use that business to say we're trying to better the community. That's not what you're there for. And it happens in there as well. And to a point where your staff can't even ask for a raise, for example, even if they feel like they deserve it. They can't even, ask to be paid. You can sit on their salaries for however long you want, and nothing's gonna happen, about it. And for me, like that's one of the things that we need to interrogate, and it all ties in again. It's harder for women, of course, because again, it comes to the point, ball and don't walk around. They're gonna tell you danga buge, and the whole gold digger label as well. Halis moko connected the floor and stuff. If you're going to work and you say you're employed, obviously you're going there to earn money. So obviously halis molo connected the floor. And so I think it can be a very sticky situation, especially around what impact it has on people as they grow and as they progress, but continue to be cheated because they just don't know different.
I think it's really good that you mentioned the for-profit world, the business world, because I think that is where the worst exploitation in this country happens.
I forgot to do a trigger warning for you.
Yes, I was so triggered. I was about to scream because listen. For profits, and I've had personal experience with this, and I'm not even going to go into that, but listen, we have companies that are worth millions and millions and millions of dollars in this country that are hiring young people and paying them peanuts. When we talk about the pay scale in this country, everyone just focuses on the government. Why is the government paying people $2,000? Why is the government doing this? Private companies making millions of profits every year are paying people $2,000, $2,500, and then having the audacity to deduct your salary if you're late or you're absent, or even firing you for showing up late or this many times in a week. There's literally... Listen, I'm really triggered at this point, but like it's
you can't
demonic.
Even fall on any labor protections.
And then
I guess
you can't fall, like there's a labor act, whatever, but who's really implementing this labor act?
Who does it serve?
And then 2, these same companies would also take on interns, give you work that is meant for a professional, and not pay you for that job. Why? Because you're an intern, you're still learning, maybe you're still a university student. University students, you're still in university, so you're not entitled to a certain amount of pay. It's unfair and it's exploitation. People are being exploited in this country in all labor markets, whether it's the non-profit world or the for-profit world. And then, to me, it's worse in the private sector than it is in the public sector.
Especially if you consider like how much they are making, how much more they are, and that it's clearly for-profit, and the profits that are coming in are being brought in by these same people that you're exploiting.
The young people work the hardest, but
they do. And I think that whole thing is a lie. That whole thing of, oh, you're young, you don't know. It's a lie. If I didn't know, you wouldn't put me in that position.
I remember my internship in the ministry that shall not be named. I'll just say it, Ministry of Health. No, but I remember that I was only there for a couple of months. But first of all, people don't work in this country. I'm just going to say it. So you're so bored that you're going to different departments asking them for work just so that you can be productive.
Yeah.
And then I'm saying it for me, but I know so many young people that are basically running whatever departments that they're in. But 1, they'll be lucky if they get a stipend, and number 2, that stipend, it goes towards fare to get to work, and then eventually their parents will have to give them more money to use for the work.
I think it started the whole global conversation on like the UN and their internships,
the UN volunteers, and how it
just the gatekeeping point you were talking about. For example, if I wanted an internship in New York, for example, I can't afford it because it's an unpaid internship, and I have a life to live, bills to pay, and so I need to be within a certain social class to be able to even accept that internship.
No, but even for their paid volunteer work, because I had this experience. I applied for a UNV job, right? Applied for it, interviewed, blah blah blah. They selected me, and when they showed me the
the offer,
when they showed me the offer, this was literally half of what I was getting paid at the time. And this was a job that I really wanted to do because it fell within my area of interest, right? And I asked them, okay, is this like the basic salary? and there'll be benefits. So no, it's a volunteer position. So this was basically a job that a UN staff would probably be supposed to do.
That's what happens.
It was a lengthy TOR.
I can tell you this from internal. It's usually a post.
A post.
It's usually it should be a full-time post, and when they don't find, or they maybe don't want to use the funds for that, they then find a UNV, because that's really what's easier.
That's really what's easier. But then
nope, let this one go.
Absolutely not.
You're underpaying the person. I remember when they told me how much they were gonna pay. There was someone I was working with, a much older man, like, he's well experienced. So I told him, and we had this conversation, and I told him how much they were offering. He said dollars. I said no, dollars.
Exactly. Exactly.
So everywhere in this country you're getting exploited, whether it's the non-profit world, international organizations, government, informal sector, everywhere.
Especially the informal sector, because you can't document.
Yeah. The worst ones are the households, but that's a whole episode of.
Yeah, we'll come to that. Yeah. And I think that's a good place to go for a break. We're discussing money matters, women and money, and just what that relationship is like. We'll be right back after the break. Welcome back. Reminder, even though you don't need it, you're listening to the Musso podcast. And on this episode, we're discussing money, we're discussing kodo, and really what our relationship with money is, especially within the context of our labor and the value of our work. And before we went over for the break, we've just been discussing so many things. I can't do a resume of that. But you've also been having your own thoughts around the things that we're discussing. If you've had your own experiences and you'd love to share them, feel free to share them with us on social media using our hashtag MussoPod. That's MUSSOPOD. We really want to hear what those experiences have been, because we feel like we're not alone in this journey or in this predicament. So we've talked about our professional activist lives or our professional volunteer lives and how we feel uncomfortable charging people for the work that we do, especially if it's coming from like nonprofits that we're affiliated with or that we want to support, or who are working on causes that we're passionate about. And obviously now we're big girls. We have responsibilities.
With big girl responsibilities.
Adult responsibilities, and those responsibilities are not going to take care of themselves. And it's also all of the other people's responsibilities that are on your own plate. I think we should do an episode on that, the black tax.
Yes.
Yeah.
We should do an episode on that. And so for me, it's really how are we transitioning? I know we've all talked about how it's really difficult. We're still trying and we're still managing, but how are we transitioning from that place where we feel like we should not demand pay? And by pay, I mean financial, for our work, to a point where we're comfortable identifying the value of our work, the value of our time, and asking to be paid for that.
I'm not comfortable.
But we've not arrived.
Honestly, for me, the only thing that has really and truly helped is that every time someone offers me an opportunity, I come to y'all, I go to Nene, or I go to Ramatulan, because I know for a fact that you people will always tell me you need to charge. Like, I'll even ask you guys for what amount I need to charge, because I know that if I did not have that, I would still I'm still collecting peanuts, but like I would still be collecting less peanuts. So I think having someone to go to, and also just realizing the worth of your work. Because I'm just gonna bring up the fact that today we're talking about how we're kind of we are specialists in our areas, but we can't even use that title out of like, I would say fear, or out of feeling inadequate. And it's that same inadequacy that leads us to want to ask for less,
or not ask at all.
Or not ask at all. So I'm just trying to get comfortable with the fact that like I've spent so many years trying to perfect my craft, and that I deserve to be compensated for it. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, just putting it out there, you guys, my dream car is a Mercedes-Benz like AMG 63 GLE coupe. If anyone wants to buy it for me, buy it for me. If not, then I need to keep working until I can afford it.
Yes, sir. She can afford dreams. Dream cars.
So I think that's what I've realized, that like I'm working really hard for a life that I want for myself, and if I'm not being fairly compensated for it, then I will never be able to reach that life.
Liability. How are those legal fees looking like? But especially for you, because you've spent all of that time, specializing, I guess, to a point where you can now stand up and say, I am a lawyer and I have to get paid for my work. How do you navigate that?
I'll just give you 2 examples to show how well I'm doing with that. First, you remember that person I was supposed to ask for that money for? Still haven't done it.
Oh,
Second,
we'll drag her after this episode.
Second, just this week, someone close family approached me to do some legal work for them. I didn't charge them.
So you did it for free? Because there's a difference between I didn't charge them and I didn't get anything for it. There's levels to this. So confess out.
Bobo.
So we can drag you. Which one?
I did it for free.
Yes.
Okay. We're proud of you.
Man, so I'm going to tell you in this life, tribunal money day in my life.
So yeah, this is my confession. That's how I'm doing. But I'm trying to be better at that, because I don't know, I think out of all of us, I am the worst at asking for money for my work. Like I don't know how to do it. Like I don't know how to do it. I really don't, and I'm really struggling with it. And I have friends who are like in the legal sector who are like, oh, I did this for this person and they did it. Me, I'm just here giving legal advice for free. You call me and I everything, but text my telephone. I'm like, you're such an idiot. But yeah,
so I need to do better. where do you draw the line between helping and not? And I think for me,
I think with that, I think maybe also it depends on what exactly you want me to do, right? Because if a friend or someone calls me and asks me, what is this, or what should I do in this case, depending on how I gauge it, if it's an issue, let's say a domestic violence issue that I'm passionate about, there's a 99% chance that I wouldn't ask you to pay me money for me to tell you what to do, because I feel like it's a duty for me to actually help you in that circumstance, right? But if someone were to come to me and say, listen, I need you to help me incorporate this company that's worth blah, blah, blah millions. Yes, I think I would charge. I would definitely
away
charge.
From the millions. Because that's work. You need that legal knowledge to be able to do the incorporation and stuff. So even if it's a $1,000 company at the time, it's still your work that's going into setting that up. And so I think it needs to happen.
So I'm the only lawyer in this country who's not charging people money. That doesn't mean come to me.
Do better.
I'm just saying. I'm just dragging myself.
Me, I will start coming to you.
Do better. And for me, I don't know. It's been a real struggle. And I think mine is even worse because I basically have what you call a business, I guess.
A business I registered in 2015.
So are you going to charge me for that?
Yes, I should charge you now because
you're
just letting the business
She was an intern.
She exploited me.
No, the thing is, she woke up one morning and said, send me this document, send me that document. Next thing I know, she sent me a business registration certificate. That's what happened. So she actually volunteered herself to register linear communication.
Because I wanted that company to register.
But I think for me, it's been really, really hard. Because even with Linear, I've always struggled with coming out to say, I have this business. So every time I'm like, I have a consultancy, I have this, I have that. But I'm doing work. And every time somebody tells me, why don't you publish? I'm like, no, I'm doing it on a download to build a portfolio. That's the excuse I've been using forever.
How many times do we tell her?
And then I realize all of the work that I do, with all of the many different things, it's still couched on the Linear. People are coming to me because of that, And it's been really hard. Away from just being able to ask people to pay me, I've found it really difficult to charge people, for work. So I've had people tell me, come and do a communications training for our people. And I just go. And they give me a transport refund and I take it and I leave. Sometimes they give me a transport refund and I say, no, you understand? And I realized I had to snap out of that because I also don't want to be like employed by another person forever. I want to be able to really set up Linger communications as a complete company, offering full-time and make that my full-time. Because everything I am doing, with this podcast, with Rebel Vision, with Think Young Women, everything that I do within comes outside of, for example, MRC maybe as my full-time. All of it is couched under Linger. And so I struggled a lot. I remember this one time a few years ago, I was sitting with a bunch of young entrepreneurs and I was talking about this and they were looking at me like I was nuts. Like, how do you not know how to charge for the services that you offer? And I realized that people were abusing that a lot and they do it in a subtle manner where they send me a text and say, Bala manga holal mali. And I'm doing full-time editing work on your material. I don't get credit for it when you put it out. I don't get paid for it, and it happened so many times. And I think what cracked me was when I did this whole concept, for someone that came to seek advice. I'm trying to do this, but I'm blocked, and I shared my idea, shared my concept over coffee and then left. The next thing I see, it's on TV. No credits, nothing at all. And there was a discussion around how we move, but nothing happened. And the next thing I do, I see it on TV. And I was like, you know what? I need to stop doing this. There's so much value in my work, especially working in a sector where it's not very big in Gambia. And you don't find a lot of expertise. And people will continue to exploit me by just sending me a WhatsApp message to say, Hol al Mali, review al Mali, defal al Mali. And so I've been trying to change that. And just looking at how other people charge when I feel like I'm afraid to charge. I look at what other people charge elsewhere and I try to fit it within our context. But it's been hard.
I want to add to that because I just remember that I have a business myself.
Do you now?
I just remembered that, because I'm thinking about how when I started with the body butters and stuff, given how much I spend on ingredients, because I used to do it for free, I had to, literally people, the ones that were already buying it were like, why are you charging so little?
Yeah.
Considering, they know how many hours goes into it, how much I spend on products. Because,
and
me, I don't like
the
quality, because I don't like food fam, so I'm spending, a lot on, really raw organic material. And if I compare even the price now to what people are charging for the same amount, the same product, it's nothing. But I struggle with that so much that it gave me so much anxiety that I had to set up a therapy appointment about pricing. Can you imagine?
Wow.
I'm serious.
And you paid for the therapy session.
Yeah. And my therapist was like, she was like, have you factored in the amount of hours that it's taking for you to make the products? Are you factoring in the brain power that goes into deciding what goes into
even
it?
marketing,
the
research,
all of it. She was like, you need to put all of that out. I guess this is a tip for anyone that's running a business, but you need to factor out exactly how much of your mental and physical labor is going into it when you're pricing something. But it was such a huge issue for me to do that when I'm like, oh my God, it's my own, because I was doing it for free for so long, where it's every 6 months or every year, I make a huge batches for family and friends. So turning that, and
gift it. My gift.
Yeah, I've been using
Go ahead.
But so realizing
it's hard. And I think it's important you mentioned the whole work that goes into it, because a few days ago I saw one of the young Gambian women business owners. She's not based in Gambia, she's based in the US, and she was talking about how when you support a business owner, a small business owner, it goes a long way because they do everything for themselves. They do production, they do marketing, they handle their social media, they do their labels, they do their shipping, they do everything they're doing. And sometimes it's one person doing it until they get to a point where maybe they could hire help to be able to support them. And I think sometimes when we cost, we don't even cost that. And there's this quote also that says, okay, there was this joke, I guess, where was it a plumbing problem in the house or something, and then they called the plumber to come and fix it. I was like, for fixing it, I'm charging you $1, but for knowing exactly what to fix, I'm charging you the extra $999.
No,
So it's how do we value our expertise? How do we value our experiences? Because it's not just about the one work that you're doing in that moment. It's everything that you have done to arrive at the point where you are the one who's chosen as the one able to do that work. So I still need some help with regards pricing my work and, you know, just giving it the value it deserves and demanding to be paid that way. But hopefully we'll get there.
Even me with C's, I usually will employ like my sister or my cousins to help.
And you don't pay them.
No, I do. I pay more than I make.
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking like I can't unfairly like compensate them. Even if I have to struggle, at least let me pay them enough to know that, like, you know, their work is appreciated.
But you're not factoring what you're paying them into the final prices
No,
that you
I'm
have.
not
So that's where the
factoring-
problem
yeah,
is.
I'm not factoring that at all because I'm giving like I pay a lot. I don't want to say how much I pay.
I can gift.
I can lose your
I
social
can
media
mix
accounts.
things. Yeah.
Like I what I pay, I don't make it. But like I'm thinking, because I'm like, okay, if you're cutting the labels and you're doing this and you're doing that, like I feel so bad because I'm like, there's no way I'm taking up 5 hours of your time today and I'm giving you what, like I need to pay you way more than minimum wage because it's not minimum wage work if I can't do it for myself.
It's interesting. Do you feel that way because of how you felt undervalued and underpaid, and so you don't want to carry that forward? Is that where that is coming from?
Big time. And I think we're so used to exploiting people we love.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, because you're my family, you're meant to do this for me. Yeah, because even with my cousins, like when my aunt found out how much I pay my cousin, she was like, yo, look, I'm like, that's not the point. If she's taking her time and she's coming and she's doing this for me, I need to show her that it's valued because it's not something I want to do for myself. So if that's why even I'm thinking with house helps, with all of that. If the work you don't want to do it for yourself, what makes you think it's okay to pay someone $2,000 or less a month?
To do that, yeah.
When you develop or when Google or develop.
The thing about house helps reminds me when I was recently looking for a house help and the person told me how much they were charging because it would have been a lot that they would be doing. And I told I told the person that, oh, this is how much they're charging. And the person said, well, I would never pay a house help that much money. And I said to them, I would never accept to be paid that for, like, I would never take it for all the work. Because I know what that work entails. It's difficult and I would never accept that kind of money for that kind of work. So why would I be comfortable paying that person that amount of money? Like, no. But it comes down to the thing where Gambians generally don't value skill. It's not work but skill. The skill it takes to do things, we don't value it at all. We have very, very little respect for it. Nit mun na ñew, we have an electrical problem, the person comes, unscrews something, fixes it. Hey, lu yomba li rek la def. Yow lu tuti rek nga pare nga bëgg ma charge $1,000. Li rek nga bëgg ma charge li. But it takes a lot of years, a lot of practice for that person to get to that point where they can do it in a lot of money for the person to do it in a way that makes it look so simple, right? And I think it happens to all of us. It happens to me sometimes. Sometimes someone would charge me and I'd be like, forgetting what it took for that person to get there. And I think that's something we should constantly remind ourselves of, that it takes a while for someone to develop a skill. And whatever, you know, with certain jobs, if you're applying for a job based on the number of years of experience that you have, that determines how much you get paid for that job. Somebody who and what level you're on. So that's how we should always look at things. If somebody is doing a job that they're skilled, that they've been doing their whole lives, you should pay them the value of their work if you can afford it. And if you can't afford to, negotiate. If you can't come to terms, let them go, but don't underpay someone when you can afford to pay them the right thing.
I think the other thing, and that's important, what you can afford to pay them, especially if you can afford to pay them more, but still hang on to the only lenjefe everyone. This is what everyone does. I think if we latch onto that mentality, nothing's gonna change. We're still gonna see people who are living in a perpetual cycle of poverty, and it goes on generation after generation because they're being unfairly compensated for their work. They're being exploited, and that goes on right to their children and their children's children. And I'm just thinking, we've been talking about like the skill, the years you put into it, you know, and even though it's a difficult one, what is your work worth to you?
Hella.
What is your work worth to you?
Hella.
So obviously it's not to say it's worth 2 million for me, because you can't really, I don't think you can even put you can quantify in monetary terms or give it a figure, but what is your work worth to you?
Now I see, because again, just thinking about that quote about how like I spend 1 second here and then it cost me this, because I'm just thinking about I had a bathroom issue. The plumbing was not working. The plumber came 30 seconds. It was done.
Yep.
I couldn't believe it. So I'm just also thinking about me in terms of like, remember the project that I was doing last year, and then they offered me like something that I knew that they had more of. I said no. I was like, find someone else to do it. I'm broke. I need money consistently, but also it's so important to know what you're capable of doing and what just what you're worth. And once you do, it's so important not to back down, even if it means losing 1 or 2 projects. You should know that at the end of the day, you're doing what's best for you and your ethics and your integrity.
I think for me, like you can't put a certain monetary value to it, but in the past 2-3 years, right, I've had the opportunity of working with quite a few like senior lawyers, and I've worked with them on consultancies and stuff, and based on the way that they've regarded my work or appreciated my work, it has made me realize that I'm actually good at what I'm doing, and that there's actually
excellent.
Yeah, there's great humble for what.
So even those values, it's about how you value your work.
How you value, and for me, it made me realize that at this stage in my life, my work is worth thousands of dollars. Yes.
Hundreds of thousands.
Yes.
Making millions someone you want to say?
No, I'm not. If you say millions, it could be dollars. I'm talking about dollars. Like
I'm talking about
thousands of dollars. Yeah.
It will rack up to the millions.
Yeah.
We're not
like
full-blown capitalists, but we want to chop life small too.
No, but like I said, I'm qualifying
it
at this stage where I'm just beginning in my professional career, and I believe, as I go forward, as I learn more and get more experience, get more qualifications, my work is going to be worth a whole lot more. So yes, you have to know how much your work is worth, and I think because of the opportunity I had to do these jobs and knowing how much my work is worth, that was why when that non-profit offered that amount of work for that, I was like, no, I can't take that, because literally I know what standard of work I'm going to produce, and that's not what it's worth. So,
and it's reminding me about that one with the African Commission. I'm gonna name them because that was really disrespectful. I still get pissed about it when I hear it. And you're offering me an amount, and I said, this is what I'm charging. And I even go down, because then it wasn't just gonna be about me. And I think that's what they usually think. They hear all of these big names, and you think people are just gonna jump. And the response of, oh, it's because she has another job. This is an opportunity. Imagine having this on your CV. I have already worked for what's on my CV. I don't need your consultancy to put anything on my CV. I have the UN on my resume, if that counts for anything at all. So I am charging you because of what my work is worth, because of the quality I'm giving you, but also because go try and find somebody else who's going to give you the quality of work that I'm giving you. But it was so disrespectful to me. Like, I felt so disrespected. I felt so angry, and I was like, I'll probably never do work with these people, because what you're essentially telling me is that you don't value my work. You really just want somebody who's going to come and do this stuff, but you don't feel like I deserve to stand in a position where I can tell you no, what you're giving me is small, so I'm not going to take it because I feel like I deserve better. And I feel like they do this a lot with that whole, it will look good on your resume. Who will look good on your resume?
If your CV didn't look good right now, they would have considered
you're coming to me
for
a reason. There's a specific reason why you're coming to me. So I'm not, at this point, to be honest, I'm not doing work for my CV.
No, and it's so important.
I am not doing work for my CV. The two motivations for the work that I do is fulfillment in regards to how I contribute to progress in society and the financial gains I get to improve my life. These are the two main motivations for why I do work.
It is so important because they do that a lot. Because it's this. I had that issue too with a different organization who shall not be named, but it was the whole thing of, oh, if you do this project for us, then these other organizations will contract you if the work is good enough for this and that. So just think about that versus like what we're offering you right now. And I was like, no.
So they did the same with me. It's like, oh, this is a first step. We can build a relationship. I'm not going to build a relationship that is based on
exploitation.
Not just exploitation, but demeaning my value. And lessening my value. I don't want that relationship. You can keep all of your opportunities.
Yeah, I straight up, I said, no, I'm not doing it. They were like, well, there's other people we can give it to. I said, give it to them.
That's fine. There's always going to be people who will accept it anyway.
Like, it's fine.
And I think that contributes to the exploitation as well, because they always know somebody's going to accept less.
Yeah.
You know, but is that somebody going to give you the quality of work? And that's where the discomfort comes in, and working towards being comfortable with saying no and saying, this is what I believe my work is worth. And if you're not willing to pay me that, then find somebody else. I'm sure you'll find somebody else who will do it. But this is what my work is worth, and this is how much I am demanding. And so, obviously, it's a struggle for all of us, and understanding where to draw the line. But there's also this thing I do. For a lot of nonprofits, I never charge, because I understand what that sector is like in Gambia. They don't have money to pay you. Some of them don't have money to pay you. You know, but even for them, like where there is funding, I'm always like, if you show me that when you have funding to pay me, you're still not going to pay me, I'm not going to continue doing free work for you. You know, but if it is an entity that I know can definitely pay me, and you're just choosing not to pay me, I'm also thinking about, why are you moving around with those thoughts? Why do you feel like it is okay for me to do work for you and for you to not pay me? Because then it tells me you simply don't value me as a person, you don't value me as an expert, and so I really don't need to be working with you. And so I guess over the course of this whole last part, we've been sharing tips, but when we do these difficult conversations, we like to leave with some of the tips around how we are navigating, you know, this situation. Do you have any that you could leave for especially younger women, but also older women who still struggle with this, on how to value your work, how to create a certain worth as far as monetary value is concerned, and more importantly, how do you demand pay?
Can I sit this one out?
No.
Ngone, then let's start with you.
Exactly.
Because I have nothing to say. That's why I want to sit it out. I'm also waiting for tips.
But you've been transitioning though, what are things that maybe you've been learning? Sometimes it may not work, but sometimes it actually works for certain purposes. So.
I think honestly, like you said, I've been transitioning in the past 3 years. I've been transitioning from one job into another. And what I've learned is that my work has value. And if you're not going to pay me the value of my work, or even attempt to compensate me for work that I've done, then I don't think you have my ultimate best interest at heart, and I need to be somewhere where my work would be valued. Because I have to give an example where I had two jobs at the same time, and with one I did a lot of work, a whole lot of work, and I saw how my boss at that place valued my work to a point where he went out of his way to make sure that I was paid an honorarium for all the long hours. And when he was paying me that money, what he said to me was, I know, like, you deserve so much more, but it's unfortunate that given the circumstances of the situation, I can't approve payment beyond this, but if it were up to me, I would have paid you double what I paid you. And that made me realize that it's important to work with someone who values your work. And after that, I worked with someone who, on a consultancy, asked me to help out. I agreed to help out. And when it came time for payment, the person told me, this is how much I charge them. I'm splitting it in half and paying you half because you helped me out. And I was shocked because that was the first time. I'd helped with other consultancies with other people, but that was the first time that had happened, that someone, a senior person, has said to me, I'm going to split my pay in half with you because you have done a lot of work on this. And I think that is it. You have to surround yourself with people who value your work and who would pay you fairly.
And get yourself friends who will tell you, is it paid work?
Yes.
That too. So
I think for me, I'm starting to have fixed rates. So depending on it's a non-profit or just knowing what the company earns, I have fixed rates. I don't care that I know you. I don't care that your mom and my mom went to school together. It's not my business. My business is the fact that this is what you make and this is what you can afford to pay me. And even like if you want to give family and friend, if you want to do work for family and friends, if you want to have a discount, specify what the discount is. Specify that, okay, this is what I normally charge, but this is my discount for you, so that they know exactly what the thing is. Because at the end of the day, like it's your work. If you choose to do it for free, that's fine. But if you're going to charge, make sure that it's consistent across the board. If you want to do discretion too, but just let it be known that this is what your fee is.
Yeah.
And I also for certain stuff, like with writing or with something that I know that's going to be paid later, I ask for a percentage.
Yeah.
So whatever
After.
is made, this is the percentage that I'm asking for with any, royalties or whatever you want to call it. This is a certain percentage that I'm going to have from it, even if it's not coming out now. So those are
So
3
secure
tips.
the future.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think for me it's the combination of what you have shared. Obviously, being in spaces where people remind you, that your work has value and that it's okay to demand monetary pay for the work that you do, beyond the opportunities it comes with, beyond the doors it opens, that you also, on top of all of that, you deserve to get paid because it is work. The other thing for me, like Hadi said, is having fixed rates and going beyond that. When people come to me, like I said with the WhatsApp thing, or you just send me an email and stuff, I send you an invoice right away. So I have invoices that I've designed and I keep them. I price it. Sometimes maybe the price is too low, but I send you an invoice. And the invoice is basically to signal to you that I'm not doing this work for free. And one thing I've also been trying to do, I have this, and I know I'm able to do this because I can afford to have that email personalized for Lingard Comms. And when you come to me with work, I tell you, send it to Lingard Comms. And when you send it to Lingard Comms, I follow that up with an invoice, and right from the start that this is something that you should be paying for. But it's also just trying to understand how much people are charging for the kind of work that I do. So, well, obviously you can't charge certain amounts in Gambia that are being charged in the US because the markets are just not the same. But I try to find figures that are fair for me, but also fair within the context which I find myself. And again, like you said, it depends on who's asking, it depends on who's hiring, it depends on who's seeking your services. And so for me, like, those are my tips. A lot of learning still, but also a lot of unlearning around just my relationship with money and how I feel like I need to continue serving. And I think a lot of it was also tied to the fact around what would people say if they find out I'm not helping. There's help, but there's also helping yourself. And I think this really falls in the category of helping yourself. Because I realized very quickly that I can't build Lingard Communications into what it should be if I continue to do work for free.
Yeah, and you can help down the line if you're not accepting pay for it.
And for me, like, the idea for Lingard has always been sort of like a social enterprise thing. So you're making profits, but some of it is going back to support the work that you do around your advocacy, your activism, your organizing. So those are some of the tips. Obviously, we need some tips as well. So if you're listening to this, you could share, and we would absolutely be able to learn from them. And so, on that note, we are moving on to, I guess, our favorite segment. So my favorite, just because I'm mad somebody didn't choose me as their mentor.
Wow. Okay, that was so violent.
But I'm violent family. My mentor. I can't imagine.
I'm science. When we were at MRC, I almost snapped, and I was like, "It's bring your mentor to work."
Yeah, mama, they are. I told you, God got me. But we're getting into Musso of the week, and obviously, we always choose our Mussos based on what we're discussing. And so, Negone, since she's the one that keeps not asking for her money, that keeps doing work for free,
deflecting.
Tell us who our Musso of the week is.
So, don't mind them, you guys. I've changed. I'm a changed person, but for this week, we decided to go a special route because we believe that there are a lot of women who are employing other young women in this country and are paying them fairly for their job. I know this is very rare, but it's happening. So we're throwing our Musso of the week back to you. If you're a young woman and you've been hired by another woman and she's paid you fairly for your job, please add her or mention her on the Musso Pod hashtag and give her a shout out as your Musso of the week. We would do the same as well. We would share our individual Mussos of the week based on the working relationships we've had with them. But we're really interested in looking forward to who you choose, and don't forget to tell us why that person is your Musso of the week. Hashtag Musso Pod.
And even if it's not someone that's paying you well, just someone who's been helping you when it comes to financial literacy and management in itself, and telling you that you deserve more. So someone who's been pushing you to ensure that you're making what you deserve. So even if they're not the ones paying you what you need to be paid.
Yeah, so we're looking forward to discovering your Mussos.
Thank you so much for tuning in. And as usual, don't forget to send us your questions and your feedback on hashtag MussoPod. We'll be looking out for them.
And as always, if you want to call us, beep us, reach us, wherever, our socials.
Did she say beep?
Beep love.
I was thinking
Wow.
the Kim Possible theme song, Call Me, Beep Me, if you want to reach me.
Okay.
But yeah, we're on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram at Musso Podcast, at MUSSOPODCAST.
Absolutely. Wonderful conversation. We hope when we leave this room we'll be better with our money matters as women. Great opportunity to thank Right Click for supporting us through this production. And thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for taking this journey with us. We'll be back here again next Monday with another new episode of Musso Podcast. Have a wonderful week.
Bye.
Bye, y'all.
Ching ching, that's the money calling.
We love the money.
Go where the money resides.